everyone, it's Miss Emma, and today I'm going to read you Miss Mousie's Blind Date by Tim Beiser, illustrated by Rachel Berman. Spring is such a funny thing. It wakes up all the plants and makes our furry woodland friends go cuckoo for romance. And so it was one day in May, when stopping by the deli, Miss Mousie's eye fell on a guy who turned her knees to jelly. Matt LeBlanc, the water rat, was such a handsome fellow. His fur was black, his eyes were red, his teeth were lemon yellow. He caught her eye and nodded high. She couldn't speak or squeak. Miss Mousie's paws began to shake. Her little legs went weak. The droll mole deli owner gave the rat a Swiss on rye, and viewing Matthew chewing it, Miss Mousie thought she'd die. To catch the rat's attention, Mousie headed for the door and coyly dropped a hanky from her pocket on the floor. Matt shook his head. "Hey, Mole," he said, "come fill my coffee cup and tell that fat girl by the door to pick her hanky up." Not very nice. Miss Mousie twitched her nose and froze. "Can I believe my ears? That awful rat has called me fat." Her eyes filled up with tears. She scampered to her burrow and she hid there for a day, ashamed to go outside and hear what other folks might say. Her chubby body would just be a cause for laughter. She might as well decide to hide inside forever after. One morning, without warning, at her door came several knocks, and she found this invitation stuffed inside her letterbox. "We've never met, at least not yet. But dear, tonight at 8, would you agree to dine with me? I'll be your mystery date." My goodness me, who could it be? And why this sense of mystery? Is he aware that I'm fat, and worse, my recent history? She squeaked, "Oh no, I dare not go," then raced to find a mirror. One look at me and he will flee. That much cannot be clearer. But in disguise? That might be wise. In fact, I think it's best. So to her storage hole she stole and searched her wooden chest. She found some bells and scalloped shells, 3 tea towels made of cotton, a tablecloth, wings off a moth, and pearls she had forgotten. She took these things and with some strings she made a gown so clever that just to guess who wore that dress would take some folks forever. And for her head she found some thread and curtains made of lace, then made a crown of snails and veils to cover up her face. Miss Mousie headed down the road, inside that clever gown. From looks she got, folks must have thought the circus was in town. She was the cause of wild applause, loud shouts and cheers and whistles, which lasted till she took a spill and landed in some thistles. The thistle thicket was so thick and tangled with sharp brambles that every thorn snagged what she'd worn and left her dress in shambles. Dead leaves upon her sleeves were stuck, and much to her dismay, as rain came down and soaked her gown, her big hat blew away. At 8:08 she reached the gate at Mystery Date's address. Her first blind date, and she was late, and looking like a mess. She sadly trudged up to the door and gave a fearful knock. To her surprise, what met her eyes was something of a shock. Standing right before her was the mole who owned the deli. She recognized him by his eyes and by his tubby belly, but he had whiskers like a rat, and his hair black as a crow. With squint and grin he showed her in and stepped upon her toe. With an air quite debonair, the mole first tried to seat her in funny spots like flower pots and on a carpet beater. All through his hole, the squinting mole could hardly find his way. As Mousie gawked, the poor guy walked into the buffet. With such a crash, his rat mustache was knocked in disarray and placed upon his face with paste. It quickly dropped away. Finally, he quite blindly sat her down upon a bench. "Café au lait, oui, oui, soufflé," he cooed in nonsense French. Then to a chair with no one there, he said, "This might be daring, but I confess I love your dress and that sweet hat you're wearing." This nutty situation struck Miss Mousie as so funny that she slapped her thighs and giggled till her little eyes were runny. "You're phony as baloney," Mousie laughed. "I call a truce. No girl objects to men in specs. Please wear yours, silly goose." "I played the same lame costume game. Let's have another try." "I'm plain and fat, and that is that," the mole squeaked. "So am I." He set his jaw, then took her paw and said on bended knee, "If you'll be you, then I'll be me." Miss Mousie said, "Wee wee." The end.